Welcome to the first episode of the Farms of BC podcast. My name is Jake Ack, and today we're going to set the stage with a quick introduction to our team, a little bit more about how Farms of BC started, and a quick update on the world of acreages in 2023. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so first episode, Farms in BC podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We're going to start it off.
Excited too.
And, I guess we'll start off with introductions, really, right?
Yeah.
We'll start with Nav.
Nav Sekhon, one of the co-founders of Farms in BC Real Estate Group. We started this venture back 15 years ago. And, we've been selling farmland. We've been exclusively selling just acreage and farmland. Our background is pretty much agriculture. Myself, my brother Taj, we were born and raised in farming background, farming industry. Dad's been farming in the blueberry industry since the late 1970s. Mm-hmm. And growing up on a farm, it was always one of those things that you just had to do when you were a kid, and blossomed into that. We're still doing it as teenagers, and now as adults, we're still doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So farming has been in our blood. So, that's kind of, it's always been with us since day one.
Yeah, super relatable, because I know that's what we hear from a lot of our clients as well, right? So,
yeah. And
I mean, I guess that explains why Farms in BC, why you started the branch here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's something that when Farms in BC started, when I started real estate, I realized it was such a niche market. There was not many people that were even doing agriculture real estate. So, and then when I got my real estate license and I got into housing, selling houses, I didn't enjoy it. So then, farming, it was a product we grew up on it. We knew the industry. We had the contacts, we knew the farmers, and from there it was just doing one sale at a time and meeting these farmers, and it just spiraled from that point on, yeah. And then I think Taj came. You came a couple of years after.
I started in 2012.
Yeah, you came.
After you.
Yeah.
Now you started in, sorry, what?
2007.
2007. Okay. How much of that was in farms though?
Oh, first couple of years, pretty much nothing. Mm-hmm. When you get your real estate license, you tend to try to find your space, right? Like, I don't know, Varun, you can relate when you started real estate. You started doing condos, you try to do houses, you try to do development property, you try to do wherever you can make money at the end of the day, right?
100%.
Yeah, right. And then my passion was always farming. So when I did my first farm deal, I enjoyed it. I knew the product. I understood the people. I knew the industry. I could guide my clients not only during the purchase, but after the purchase, which was the most fulfilling thing. Getting these people to, when they bought their farms, helped them set them up with the types of crops that they wanted to use. Even helped them out with machinery, helped them with some labor contractors just to get them going and started. And yeah, we go visit some of our farm clients now, 10, 15 years later, and seeing how successful they've become, it's rewarding, right? Yeah.
That's super relatable, because I'm just thinking, like, when I got into it, I was just thinking I really didn't want to do all the housing. I didn't want to do all the condos and everything else. And I was like, what? That's all real estate is. Yeah. But kind of just, digging deeper into my roots and kind of where we started. We've always been in farms, but I'll get into it a little bit afterwards. But basically, I've been in real estate now for 2 years, but it's all been exclusively farms. Yeah. And that was actually the reason I came to you in the beginning. I was like, I do not want to do any of the houses. I don't want to do any of the condos. I want to do strictly farms.
Remember what I said? I'm like, hey, I think you should go try.
Yeah, I know.
You should go try this other stuff first. Really get to know what you like, what you want. Yeah. But what attracted me to you when you met me is you come from almost a very similar background setting, kind of like where me and Taj, right? And then it was really relatable. and kind of like when I was talking, you can kind of see someone's passion. Passion in wanting to be in real estate, and then you had a passion for farms, and then on top of that, I can see that you really were really wanting to grow a business.
Yeah.
Right.
What made you want to do farms over
Yeah, I know
houses?
it's no, that's interesting. I mean, I guess we should probably even introduce ourselves and names wise, right? I mean, obviously JCAC started just recently, about 2 years now, but farms exclusively because honestly, well, when I started sales in general, it was probably like 2010, 2009, around that time, right after high school. And, you know, kind of coming out of the 2008 kind of recession, all that stuff that was happening. You know, that was one of those times when there was a lot of fear in our family, just because we had a lot of acreages and all this and that. And there was a fear that, you know, we could lose it all.
At that time, what were you guys farming?
And at the time we were doing, well, even to this day, we're actually doing vegetable crops, right?
Yeah.
So that's the primary. And I remember just, you know, there was a lot of fear in the air. Like, you're a kid, you don't really realize it, what the real, you know, the gist of it is. But
I think we went through the
that's the thing. You guys, like, when you guys tell me stories, I'm just like, dang, that's relatable, right? So
we around actually the same time we went through the same thing. There was some
2006.
between 2006 and 10 there was some fear just with the farming market plus real estate investing, and it's always been around us as well with our parents. So I guess when you're a kid, you see your parents talking about real estate and oh, should we go buy that farm? And you guys were aggressively in leasing farmland.
yeah, exactly, and that's what we still do to this day, right? A lot of it is, well, 90% is probably leased. But anyways, like, what that kind of got me into is kind of thinking about, what if we do lose it all? Where do I kind of stand to kind of bring the family back up to par, right? So what can I do to make a difference, right? So I always leaned towards sales, even though I was doing my degree and trying to go into engineering and sciences and all the things that the parents try to get you to do, right? But on the back of my mind, I was always like, you know what, sales is the ticket to kind of get myself to assist right now. Like, that was kind of my way of kind of going into it, right? So I went from like future shop to like cell phone sales to like car sales to like insurance and this and that. And I was like, I'm never going to do real estate just because I don't really get it. I don't really want to really get into that realm because there was a little bit of fear with all that stuff. But then I realized, you know, once I kind of really got back into the farm and the roots of the farms and everything else, and I was just like, you know what, this is really important. And there's so many things that I already understand that just come naturally to me. And I was like, you know what, if I could flip this into a career, you know, using all the experience that I've gained over the last 10 years and, you know, using the background, that'd be the perfect match. And that's actually when I reached out to you guys in like 2020, 2021.
You are a natural when it comes to sales side of things, but over and beyond that, what I've seen in the last 2 years is that you're genuine. So as sales aside, I think remember the discussions we have about guiding clients and putting them in positions, it's not just making the sale, is like always like, hey, does this actually fit within their 10, 15, 20-year goal? And sometimes, remember, we've told our clients not to buy some stuff just because it just doesn't fit. It looks pretty, it's probably a good price, but does it fit that goal? And we would know that, hey, it wouldn't. So
yeah, I know, and that basically just stems from, like, if you don't want to, you got to speak the truth every single time because you don't have anything to, like, you know, remember what lie you made up or whatever the case is. So when it came to like sales, I just kind of operated in that way, and I was just like, you know what, just be super straight. If they're gonna buy, they're gonna buy. And if they're not gonna buy, they're not gonna buy, right? So it just have that straight conversation, right? So anyways, I led into farms and the perfect match here, right? So
well, I think Varun is kind of the same way. When Varun and I met, like, he actually had like, I think 5-6 years of solid experience, but I think you wanted to kind of change up the type of products you wanted to sell, right?
Yeah, like, so again, my name is Varun Seth. And I've been in real estate for almost, I would say it was like almost 5 years. And then I was looking for something different. And then last year I met Farms in BC and I met Nav Sekhon. And then, I made the transition like right away as soon as I met him. And he gave me the opportunity. And
I still remember when we first met, it was like, because you know, there's a portion of our business where there's a lot of buyers that we deal with, and as there's not that many farms for sale that fit each individual's goals. So I really needed assistance with that someone that can run the entire farms in BC section, where we've got somebody that we know that has their eyes and ears to the ground, always on MLS, always chatting with other realtors, always having that network going, plus helping us try to find properties off market. When you came in, it was a relief, because we're almost getting double or triple the amount of activity and progress.
Yes.
And you were the perfect fit. Like right when you came in, within the first like 6-7 months, we were like, okay, like, is he going to be the one? But then you definitely you prove yourself like right away.
Yeah, and not having a farming background, like you understand the product pretty good, well, really good, and you learned it really quick.
So and it's the stuff that you do outside of just the real estate stuff that I appreciate, like how you go and over and beyond and do your own research and make sure the client again still everything fits their needs, because you deal majority with buyers, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and those buyers, their needs are specific. Each farm is going to be specific to their need. So it's not like, oh, like, you know, like you probably get it. Like, what do you get always people saying to you? I want to buy 5 acres in Langley or Surrey or Abbotsford. But there's so much that goes behind it. Like,
there's so much to it, right? I mean, from the outside, when you look at a farm, it might look pretty, right? But I can, if you just give me 5 minutes, I can go on my computer and I can find out if this property is a right product for you or not.
Yeah.
What are the setbacks, or what's the pros and what's the cons?
Yeah.
So I can tell it right away.
Yeah.
That qualification is huge, because you know it just saves time in the long run.
Well, that, and it's also about educating the buyer too, right? Because a lot of buyers, they always have a price per acre range that they want to be in, but a lot of people often forget that each farm is different. Like some farms have houses, some have barns, some have crops, and that's why price fluctuates on a lot of these properties. Some houses are old, some are new, so it really, you got to dial in what the buyer wants, but you really got to dial in what their budget is and if they're realistic. And then you got to align all that with their goals to see at the end, does everything fit? So farms, I guess, are harder too, because inventory in general for farms are always limited anyways.
Yes.
It's not like residential homes. So when you're trying to look for a farm, it takes time. And with Vroom, like just having someone that can focus and make calls to hot prospects to watch the market all the time, he's able to look out for what a buyer really wants, and he can dial them in as soon as the product comes.
100%. So yeah, I mean, I think my role is basically, you know, when I'm talking to a buyer or when I'm meeting them in person, just asking the right questions and just trying to know what their goals are and what they're trying to achieve. Because when you buy a farm, it's not a quick sale or a quick deal. Because when you're buying it for a long term, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or even passing on to next generation. So you have to be really sure that this is what you want. Yeah. And then what we do is we do all our due diligence before you purchase it, so that it is the right decision for you guys.
Yeah, and how many people have we turned away saying, look, man, a farm is just not for you?
100%. We get people all the time. I get a call, hey, I want to buy a farm. Okay, what do you want to do? First of all, they don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I have my set of questions that I pre-qualify people. Yeah. And if they don't match my criteria, then we have to turn them down.
Yeah, well, not just turn them down. It was more just, it's not the right product. You know, there's some rules and regulations that most people are just not familiar with farmland.
Yes.
Each city has different bylaws.
Yes.
You know, from size of house to what they can do on the dirt, what type of additional infrastructure can they build, yes. How many houses they can build, and
what kind of
we are more educating on the first couple meetings that before we even start looking, right?
It's all education really in the beginning. Yeah. I guess Taj, your turn.
Me, I grew up in farming. I grew up in real estate just through my dad. Since we were kids, I guess we were both always on the farm, so knowing the product was second nature, I would say. Mm-hmm. As a kid, we'd always go to showings with my dad. He'd always take us to lawyers' meetings, accounting meetings. So we were kind of just
City Hall meetings.
City Hall, yeah. We grew up in it. Like it was kind of just second nature to just go into it too.
I mean, you're also really heavily involved right now in the farming side as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I've been involved heavily in the farming side probably for the last 10, 15 years, almost. So on the farming side, I run all the finances. I manage the overall crop management. So I understand the product really well. I deal with the canneries. I deal with consultants. I'm dealing with anyone industry related pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah, Taj runs pretty much our whole family operation. He pretty much takes care of all staff, all the equipment, even when it comes to there's multiple fields where to pick, and just kind of setting the daily schedules and the routines for the whole year, right?
I don't know if it was mentioned, but that's blueberries, right? So just for the audience, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the blueberry side of things.
Yeah.
So it's blueberries is we know that industry. We know that market very well.
I feel like that's a topic within itself. Like we could have a whole podcast on blueberries in general, because that's kind of our most popular, crop. Yeah. I actually do blueberries myself, so we have 30 acres ourselves, and that's kind of what we are doing in terms of management right now. The family kind of divided up the responsibilities, and my uncle's kind of taking care of all the vegetable crop and kind of all the leased lands in that regard.
Yeah.
And whereas my dad and myself were kind of taking over the blueberry side of things.
Yeah.
So definitely still, it's an operation that is hands-on. So that is something that we do, spend time on. In recent years, we've actually just leased it off just for the first year, last year. And I think we're planning on building a home in the next 3 or so years, just super early stages right now. And I mean, I know you guys are planning going down that route as well.
Yeah.
That's a topic within itself.
Waiting for permits.
It's exciting.
It's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's huge, and it's exciting to kind of have you guys a little bit ahead of me as well. So it's kind of like I can kind of relate as well. Yeah. No, it's awesome. And no, eventually we will be taking back the blueberry farm and farming it ourselves, and that's not too long from now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, I know you've got some big plans for that place.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, aside from that, I guess we should discuss how we all, discovered farms in BC and all this and that. I can kind of speak for myself in terms of how I discovered farms in BC. But I know you were mentioning 2019 is when Farms in BC was actually fully registered and set up.
But we've been marketing farms in BC since
2013.
2012, 2013. Yeah. But I've been selling farms for over 15 years, and my dad is on our team, and he's one of the guys that really helped us kind of really put us on a launching pad when he first started, because he's been in the real estate industry since 1990, and he sold a lot of farm properties. He sold a lot of houses, development properties, and things like that. Never really advertised as like the farm guy or farm realtor. He did a lot, but he did sell a lot of farms because he was a farmer. So that definitely helped that part of it as well.
He was indirectly known as a farm guy too. Like even though he would sell houses and stuff too.
Yeah, he wouldn't really market himself as that.
No, but most people knew him as a farm guy.
Yeah.
But I think the age of marketing kind of came a little bit afterwards, right?
Yeah,
so
they had newspapers.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then what made you want to even reach out to begin with? Like, why
it was the brand, right? I mean, at the end of the day, a friend of mine actually listed their home with you guys in 2019. And it was a beautiful parcel that I was actually very interested in myself. And that's kind of how I discovered you guys, and kind of found your website. And I was like, this is genius. Like just farmsinbc.com. I don't even know how you got that, or when did you get that?
Oh, you don't even want to know how I got that. I was literally sitting at a marketing office. Yeah. And we had this different name. We had like we said BC Acres or something like that, right? Yeah. And then the guy that designed the website, he's like, well, why are you complicating it? Just do farms in BC. I'm like, yeah. And then right away, I'm like, hey, right when we go back to the office, go buy that domain. Like, to make sure we get that domain.
We have like 100 domains.
Now we own like 100 domains, everything around in BC for farms. So we're just like,
because I mean, a lot of folks do pay tremendous amounts of money to have like a domain like that, right? So that's a huge value. No, anyways, when I discovered it, I was just like, that's just genius, right? So that kind of was my first introduction. That was like 2019. At that time, you know, nowhere near transitioning into real estate or anything like that. Actually, 2020, you know, that's when the pandemic came through, and I was still at RBC. I was at Royal Bank, right? So I was there. I actually left that position to go back to my farm, just because of right when COVID hit. It was around April, and real lockdowns kind of happened in that kind of point of time. And even prior to that, we were actually working from home primarily, and it was like a few days on, few days off kind of thing. And even at that point, we were having a lot of difficulty at our farm, just kind of making things run, because it was a large operation at the time, right? So, and so my way of going around it was that, you know, at that point, it didn't even make sense for me to stay at RBC. So I was like, you know what, that's it. I got to, you know, take the jump right now. Flipped into the farm business. I was like, I'll relieve somebody else to, you know, help take care of my grandparents and this and that. So I'll essentially just jump in now. Now's the time, right? And also, you know how they were talking about the bubbles and all this and that. You kind of have to stay in your little groups and all this. I was like, you know what, family's first. Let's just, you know, take care of family first, right? So I was on the farm, always with family regardless, right? So that entire year, we were kind of boots to the ground, doing, you know, 14-hour days, understaffed, you know, didn't have the workers. There was so much.
Bring in a lot of foreign workers too.
Yeah, so even though we had, and that's the thing, like, there were so many that was shut down, we had to kind of use, you know, local labor, and that was one of the other big drivers, right? Because I just, you know, wanted to be one more man on the ground that could actually be relied on to get things done, right? So anyways, prior to that, our operation was almost, you know, pretty smooth sailing, just because we had the foreign workers. But that 2020 year was tough. And anyways, after the end of that year, there was a lot of transition that was happening. We actually decided to kind of split up the roles in the business. That's when we kind of took over the blueberry side of things, and my uncle took over the vegetable farming and all this and that, right? So next year was a little bit more smoother, but 2020 year, end of 2020, I within like 2 months got my real estate license, and I was like, you know what, it's time to pull the trigger on this, because I really loved what I was doing there. And I was like, there has to be a way to kind of combine the two, because I've always loved, you know, what I was doing on my side, because I've always been, for the last 10 years, doing sales, right? And just people person, right? Just dealing with people one-on-one. And I was like, how can I combine that with farms? And I was like, I've never really wanted to go into real estate, just because I was never really interested in the home side of things, but the farm side of things, like, oh man, like, man, like any day that I'm doing like 4 or 5 deals where I'm actually, you know, one-on-one with the farms, like, that's a beautiful day. It just flies by.
I remember getting that email out of nowhere. Like, we were so busy around that time, market was just on fire, and I get this email.
It was in the summer. I don't remember.
It was.
I remember.
March.
Yeah,
I just got my license and I just shoot it off.
And then I think I called you the same day. And I'm like, so what's up? Like,
you're the perfect fit though. Like, his background, farming background.
And just because you guys are located in, I knew it too, right? Because obviously I was watching you guys, and you guys were definitely in Surrey, Delta.
You know what? We've always wanted. One aspect of farms in BC is we really wanted someone to be boots on the ground to represent farms in BC in Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Mission. And once we met, I knew you were like a really perfect fit. So then that's kind of like, okay, hey, I know we're not ready for this, but let's give it a shot. And it's been working out really well.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, because like there was no hiring, there was no application, there was nothing going on. It was just, I knew what I knew, and I was like, this is the perfect fit. Like, I was just looking at it just from like, you know, third person view and just outside, like an outsider. And I was like, you know what? These guys are all out there. I literally farm in Abbotsford and Chilliwack. Like, majority of our farms are actually out in Chilliwack. It's not even in Abbotsford, even though we live in Abbotsford. That's right. And so I was really familiar with those territories. Mission kind of came the third piece, but it was something that's 15 minutes away from where I live. So it was just so natural.
Makes sense.
For you, like, we would do a few deals in Abbotsford, a few deals in Chilliwack, Mission, but it wasn't our primary. Right. So we've always knew we've needed representation out there, and it worked out.
So
timing
now
wasn't the best though.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It was the busiest year.
It was
for
a
you
busy
guys.
time. It was a weird time. It was a weird 2 years, I would say. Before that year, it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew what was gonna happen with the market.
Yeah.
The year when you approached us, we had made so many changes in our systems, and we were trying to adapt and keep up with the market at the same.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good fit. Very, very happy that he came on. Kind of the same thing with Vroon. We were not really we were wanting someone, but we were just putting out feelers. And at that time, I think within the first interview, we knew that, hey, like this guy's gonna be.
Oh yeah, I think when I applied, he called me within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I told him, oh wow.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing with Jay. Because like, look, when there's someone that's interested in working with us, that's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I take that as a compliment. So I'm like, you know what? If they're applying, they're taking the time, write these emails and reaching out, why not? Like, let's see, what do we have to lose, right? So.
But when Vroon was coming on, we were actually looking for. We needed someone else.
We needed someone at that time, yeah. But what was your, like, why did you decide to even apply for farm real estate when you were mostly in the residential sector at that time?
So I'll be honest, as I was doing residential for, I would say, almost 5 years.
Yeah.
But I was looking for something different.
Okay.
And to be honest, it's not even a lie. I had no idea what Farms in BC was.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a real estate company. Let's apply it.
Yeah.
And then when Nav called me, within 5 minutes I applied.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
I just applied and you called me.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a touching point as well, because I am that kind of guy. When I am like communication, right? When somebody responds to you quickly, I like it as well.
It's like a show of respect almost.
It's a respect, because I know typically in Vancouver, people, they take a long time to even call you back, or even it happens with friends too. But when he invited me and we met, then I got to realize, oh wow, actually Farms in BC, it's on the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gave me the opportunity to work with him,
Mm-hmm.
I said, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
Even though I know the product was way different.
Did Vroon call you back so you want to do a start?
Yeah. Well, no, the thing, my fear was that, like, farming, there's a lot of knowledge, education, background that goes into this. But I think we've been working on it every day since you came on, and it's been this is year 2 or year 3?
Second year.
Second year. And since you started, we talk like every day, every day, the training process and knowledge and the questions you ask and getting it right
Yes.
from day one. It's good that you're always taking an initiative to learn.
Like every day is a new day, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's all about meeting right people at the right time. And I think I landed at the right place.
Yeah, vice versa. Like having you two part of the team. Like I always say to you guys, I look at it as like partners. Like I want to make sure that we take this company or team, and one day hopefully we can be a big company and we can really have a good market share, but at the same time help a lot of people out and find their dream properties. Like, as you guys know, people just don't buy and sell farmland. They buy and then they hold farmland.
Yes.
And it's usually not for 5 years, it's 10, 15, 20 years, and potentially second generations, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, I guess we should finalize on the current market and everything else. But one of the things I truly was drawn to when I came into Farms in BC was the systems, the organization, kind of the team itself. There's a large staff team in the background as well that's really pulling a lot of weight that nobody even knows is happening in the back. In the background. It might just be Nav Sekhon that's aware, in the public, but there's so many people behind him, right?
Yeah, and we are very blessed to have a team that comes in every day and gives it their 100%. Mm-hmm. And it's taken about 10 years to put this team together. Trial, error, mistakes on employment management, creating systems, processes where we as individuals can succeed, bringing on new individuals, trying to make sure they can succeed, plus our employees or staff to make sure that they can succeed and grow. So you got to build these positions where they're not stagnant. Right. So for me, it was just like, I don't want people to come here and think they have a job. I wanted them to come here and know they have a career. They're like, and I really was passionate about that. So, and I think we're in a position now where I think we've got all of the right people in the right places to take this to a level where I know that, we can service, we know what we can provide as of product to a lot of people that can't find some of these farm properties, right? But yeah, it's taken quite some time, but definitely worth the hurdles over the last 10, 15 years. Yeah.
I guess we'll end it off with the current market, kind of where are things right now, and where is the trends going, and
where everyone, Varun's been working with a lot of buyers right now, and what we're seeing, me and Varun, and we're seeing a lot of stuff that's, anything that's, let me go back to the last 2 months of 2022. The market was very slow. There was a lot of fear in the market. There was a lot of doubt in the market. A lot of buyers were on hold. And we kept seeing farm prices keep coming down. And then literally the turn of the first week of February, or almost the last week of January, out of nowhere, I guess once the Bank of Canada has kind of gave some positive feedback, like, we're going to ease off on interest rate, we may hold. We saw a lot of that buyer pool that was holding to buy within the last year, that pent-up demand started rolling in. So we saw prices now starting to increase from the lows, which they did come down. Now they're starting to creep up. And that's a lot of the properties that are under like 3.5 million. So that's probably under your 20 acres. We're seeing those starting to move quite aggressively. And I feel that because not many people still want to sell, and because inventory will be low, I feel that the prices will grow another 5 to 10%, but it'll stay stagnant after that. So what we're pushing a lot of our buyers to do is, if there's gonna be a time to buy, it was 3 weeks ago, but now is the time.
But it also depends on the product. Like if you look at what's actually on the market, it's not ideal inventory. Like what a lot of the buyers are looking for, it's not there. And a lot of people are ready to buy. A lot of people have talked to the banks and they're pre-approved and they're financially capable of buying, but the product and the inventory is not there. So I think the market would likely be harder than what it is if the inventory was there, and that's even on the residential side. I talk to guys, anything up to 1.6, 1.7 million, there's not much inventory, but they have a lot of buyers ready to buy that type of product.
Yeah, we're seeing multiple offers. We're seeing first 2 weeks, like aggressive amount of showings for products that are really good. You've got a 5 acre, 10 acre, 15, 20 acre. You don't have any creeks. You don't have any easements, right of ways. You've got a nice livable home that's reasonable size, 1,500, 2,000 to say 3,500 square feet. They're selling fast, very fast.
Assuming they're priced right, because there's a lot of...
Well, that's the key, right? As long as they're priced right, they're moving.
Because we're also seeing the opposite as well. There's still people that are trying to hold on to the prices of,
But they're just, some of them are just, because they're just not going to get that action right now.
The thing is, if you're a real buyer and you're looking to buy for the next 5, 10, 15 years, there's no difference of buying now than it was 2 years ago or a year ago. Prices came down 20 to 30%. We're roughly probably at the 25% mark right now. So people's down payments also came down that much too.
Yeah.
So one, you're buying the property a lot cheaper. Secondly, you're not putting as much down, so you have more of a cash reserve to cover you with your payments. And then because the property is already cheaper as what you would pay a year ago, the higher interest rate just makes your payment almost equivalent to what it would have been.
Yeah, because I think, I know people are fearful, like, the interest rates are high, but it's temporary. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Or is it even 2? So you got to prepare yourself for that. It's not that it's going to come down end of this year. It's not for sure going to come down. You know, when you buy an asset that's over $3 million, you got to prepare yourself for the worst. And so that's what we've been doing. But we also know that we are at rock bottom prices where prices have been shaved off, not 100,000. We're looking at 500 to almost $1 million per some of these properties, depending on the product, location, and what's on that type of farm. But we have seen these prices adjust that much. Yes, and that's why I'm very confident that anything that's priced under $3.5 million and it's a good product, you're gonna end up selling it as long as it's priced within the recent sales prices, it's gonna sell very, very quickly.
Look at Langley. Langley at the peak was anywhere from 3.2 to 3.5.
Yeah.
Highest was probably about 3.6.
Just crazy.
2.2, 2.3.
Well, I saw some sales at the lowest at like 2.1.
Even 1.8, I saw.
Yeah, so that's over $1 million.
But now we've been seeing those same types of ones that were selling for 1.92 or even 2.1.
2.3, 2.4.
2.4 to 2.6.
Yeah, even like 2.4. Well, yeah, some were at 2.6 with nicer houses.
Nicer, yeah.
But like even on an average, yeah, it's about 2.4. Yeah. And we've Varun and myself, we've got about 3-4 buyers that are ready, cash buyers ready to go at those prices, but the products are just not to par.
Location-wise.
And the locations, there's not much inventory.
No.
Not much good inventory.
There's just too many variables because I mean, the people are trying to price 3.5 for things that are really in realistic terms, probably 2.5 right now.
2.5 to 3,
Yeah.
Well, some people jumped into the market when they shouldn't have in the first place. And those are the guys feeling it. And a lot of the people that are starting to feel the pinch are the guys that have their mortgage renewals coming up now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think what we went through over the last 6 months was needed. Things got too hot, too out of control. Prices needed to calm down. It was just not sustainable. It was unrealistic. I feel that these past 6 months was needed for the market to cool. Now we're going to see reality prices. And I feel whatever this new reality comes, as these prices come back up, this is going to be reality, and I think it's going to stay for a couple of years. And my fear is that I don't think there's going to be enough inventory.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only thing plus the amount of immigration that's coming in, that's what I feel is going to, if it takes it again into those price points, it's going to be those two factors.
Well, that, and even with the new immigration rules where I think immigrants can't buy for 2 years when they come in for residential properties. Foreign buyers, yes.
Foreign buyers, yeah,
Sorry.
foreign buyer.
Yeah, but that's for residential. Does that apply to farmland?
It's a different case. It's on a case to case. I've reached out to a few lawyers and some tax accountants there. The challenge there is that if it has a home on a farm, just like when you pay principal residence tax when you sell, there is that residential component. So there would have to be a preliminary ruling. So what I'm advising people that are that fit in that category, before you write an offer, confirm that if you're allowed to buy with or without a house. And you may also have to buy a farm property that is operating as a farm. It cannot be bare land and not be farming. Farming. So I'm thinking the straight answer to your question is, I personally think, and I'm getting all this confirmed still, is that it has to be an operating farm without a house. That will not classify any of that portion of that purchase residential.
So foreign buyers will be able to buy those kind of purchases.
Maybe.
That I think is very strong. Keep in mind, guys, this is very new. Farmland has always been one of those products that has never been black and white, because it falls into both of those components. It falls into commercial and it falls into residential. So it's one of those things that it's almost got to get tested. So that's why I'm advising a lot of these people to get have their accountants reach out to CRA, figure out is this going to trigger this trigger these taxes, and talk to their lawyers.
What we recommend, just get legal advice.
I do think that because farmland is the cheapest land that you can buy as of a per acre basis, it might bring in a lot of people. If you could. If you could purchase without that barrier.
Contrary to what most people may think, though, foreign buyers is very small for our clientele. It's actually not that common. It's pretty uncommon.
It was in 2016. During the 2016-2017 boom, we saw a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah, but I think in the last 3-4 years, it's the foreign buyers buying farmland, actual foreign, like not having PR or not being a resident. No, it's been very, very little. Yeah.
But people are thinking that, it's all foreign buyers, really.
That's the media, that's the news, right? They portray it that the foreign buyers are buying like 20% of the market. They're not. Mm-hmm. It's such a drop in the actual sales volume that you'll see that it won't, this foreign buyers, the people that are actually realtors that understand it, they realize, and then the public will realize that is not going to slow down this market. It's the local economy, it's inventory. And once they realize that, that's how they're going to be able to control pricing.
Yeah, and even behind the scenes, we've had these discussions. This is all local money for the most part at the end of the day, which is surprising,
right now,
but that's the reality. Yeah. Well, that's it. On the current market side of things, that pretty much wraps it up. Yeah. So I guess that concludes episode 1 for us on podcast, right? But excited for the next ones for sure. Yeah.